Growing up, I played a lot of soccer, and during that time, I took a lot of balls to the head. Why do soccer players use their head? Because it's available to them. They can't use their arms. Because you can use your arms in Jiu-Jitsu, many often forget that they can also use their head. Why use only 4 tools, both your arms and legs, when you can use 5 tools, your arms, legs, and head? Using your head is important in all areas of Jiu-Jitsu. It can prevent takedowns, prevent guillotines, help you pass, help you sweep, help you submit, and more. I'm going to show you how to better use and prioritize using your head, so you no longer handicap yourself by using only 4 tools, so you can use all 5. It's important to use your head physically as well as take care of your head mentally, which is why before we start, let's talk about mental health. It's 2024, and this year has already brought both good and bad challenges alike. Balancing my training, my YouTube channel, my gyms, as well as my family life and life in general can be very stressful at times, which is why having a therapist to talk to can be super useful, as this can help making the most out of the good challenges and dealing with the bad ones. BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, makes starting therapy easier and much less intimidating for a lot of people. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/JTJJ, where they'll be giving you 10% off your first month. BetterHelp is great because you can have therapy sessions as a phone call, as a video chat, or even messaging, whatever's the most comfortable version of therapy for you. Plus, they can match you to over 30,000 therapists in their network, based off your preferences and location, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise. To get started, fill out the questionnaire. They'll ask you questions about challenges you're going through, and then BetterHelp can match you to a therapist to help you. If you feel like your therapist isn't a great fit, you can switch at any time at no additional cost. Join over 40 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/JTJJ and you'll get 10% off your first month. First, let's start with head position during the stand-up. Head position is extremely important in the stand-up. What I mean by head position is using your forehead as a frame. Head position can prevent lower body takedowns, as your head is your first line of defense, keeping your opponent away from your legs. If your opponent gets past your head, then your arms are your next line of defense. If your opponent gets past your head and your arms, they then have access to your legs. This is why standing upright with your head out of position is often a bad idea. What you need to do is make contact with your forehead. Match your opponent's level. Work towards getting an angle to take their head out of position. Don't let your opponent position their head underneath yours. I used to not prioritize head position nearly enough, until I spent time with my friend and former D1 wrestler Joe Breeza, working on our Wrestling for Jiu-Jitsu course. He completely changed the way I view head position when it comes to the stand-up. Now I always look for head position and drill the importance of it into my students' heads. A great example is singles. I would always shoot singles with my ear on my opponent's torso, and it's actually how I got cauliflower ear. But when Joe explained to me how much better it is to shoot singles while maintaining head position, I completely changed the way I shoot singles. With proper head position, it's so much more difficult to counter with scissor takedowns, Kimura sweeps, sprawls, and more. It might seem like you're more susceptible to guillotines, but this isn't the case, because for a guillotine, your opponent needs your head in their armpit, and positioning your head on their chest keeps your head away from their armpit. Head position isn't only important for lower body takedowns, but also provides defense against upper body takedowns. When your head is out of position, that's when your opponent can position themselves closer to your hips and can hit upper body takedowns like hip throws and uchimatas. When you use your head as a frame, they can't get close enough to you. For example, here, I'm vulnerable to getting thrown, but when I take proper head position, I nullify his underhook and work towards getting my own underhook. This clip is a good example for head position because first I do a good job with it, but then a bad job as I immediately take my head out of position and I get thrown. This was before working with Joe, and like I said, I much better prioritize head position now. Head position during stand-up is often more of a defensive tool, so understand that yes, you do need to take your forehead off your opponent for many takedowns to work offense, the double leg for example, because you're transitioning from defense to offense. When you take your head out of position defensively, you need to get going on your offense right away. Otherwise, you leave yourself vulnerable to your opponent's offense, as you no longer have that defensive frame in place. Now let's look at the importance of head position when passing. When referring to head position when it comes to passing, You can use your head on your opponent or the mat. Not all passes do you need to worry about head position in terms of using it as a frame. For example, a Toriano pass, you don't need your head on your opponent or the mat. But with many passes, using your head will help you substantially, not only to get the pass, but also prevent your opponent's offense. For example here, my opponent is not using his head, both literally and figuratively. He's not using his head to prevent my upper body from rotating inward. Yet here in the same position, I'm using my head to prevent his upper body from rotating inward. He has a grip on my wrist, but can't reach with his left arm to secure the Kimura grip, because I'm keeping him away with my head. Same thing here, no Kimura for my opponent because I'm using my head. Using your head isn't only helpful for preventing your opponent's attacks when passing, but can also help you achieve the pass. For example, when passing half guard, you need control of your opponent's head to pin them on their back, limiting their mobility and taking away their ability to rotate their upper body inwards. You can control your opponent's head using your arm, meaning a crossface. But if you position your head on the mat, it'll control the head in the same way as a crossface and free up that arm that would be cross-facing them. So you have one more tool to help you achieve the pass. Out of all the rolling footage that I have, I don't have a single clip of me using a crossface to pass half guard. This one isn't even rolling footage. I just borrowed my student to get a clip that I needed. Literally every single instance of me passing half guard in over 2 years of rolling footage, I use my head instead of a crossface. It's not wrong whatsoever to use a crossface in half guard, but why commit an extremity to their head when you can use your head instead to do the same job and have more tools available as a result? You can use that tool to help you free your leg, or use it for a near side underhook. I like to have options and I like to transition, and using my head ensures I have options. Now let's look at head position when it comes to your guard. Not all guards do you need to position your head on your opponent, but you do for guards like butterfly guard or sit-up guard where you want to stay on your butt. For example here, I lose head position and I lose butterfly guard because I couldn't stay on my butt. He won the battle of head position. When it comes to wrestle ups, head position can help you stay safe from guillotines. For example here, I start off with proper head position, but then it moves out of position and my opponent snatches up my neck. Although I counter the guillotine just fine, it would have been nice to avoid the guillotine threat in the first place. As much as I can, I try to prioritize head position when wrestling up, so I can avoid potential problems. Again, head position is more so defensive, so here I prioritize head position before transitioning to offense in the form of a leg lock. In your guard, you can also use your opponent's lack of head position against them. Like stated earlier, if you find your opponent's head out of position, you can attack submissions such as Kimuras, and also chokes like guillotines and loop chokes. Here my opponent has proper head position, but then he moves it out of position. I then move it further out of position and I attack the guillotine. Here my opponent is doing a decent job with this head position, and I move it out of position and attack that sweet go-go plata. In this particular scenario, the battle that needs to be won was head position, me forcing his head out of position and him trying to force his head into position. Alright, that's it. The moral of the story is use your head.